All right, so we're now live on Facebook. So good afternoon, guys, from IFNG. So we have this lecture. We will be having this lecture about writing. So today with us is Therese Stevens of IELTS English Gurus. She is an IELTS specialist, American Irish from the US, currently in Dublin, Ireland. And she started career teaching English in Oxford, England. She's been teaching TOEFL and GMAT to MBA students, researching and teaching IELTS for several years. So, Mr. M, without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Therese Stevens.
Hi,
Hi,
everyone. Hi,
good
I'm so
morning.
happy to be here.
Good morning, Ms. Therese, and welcome to IFNG.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I'm delighted to meet both of you and all of you. It's Gladys, right?
Yes, and with me is Mr. M.
Mr. M. I thought
Yes.
He's Marvin. Yes. So, unfortunately, Sir Jeff is not with us right now. He's having
Sorry, Ms. Gladys.
sorry for that. So he told us that we will be taking care of you for today. So
That sounds great to me.
Welcome to IFNG, Ms. Therese.
Thanks. What I'd love to know, if you can maybe shed some light, do you have a lot of students right now who are planning to do the IELTS? And is that very important for them? Yeah.
Yes.
Currently, our members, we have 7,000 plus members in our group. So because they want to ace their IELTS exam. So most of them will be taking it, most especially writing test. Because some of them needs to have that band score that they need for the UK. And
Yes. Some of the members also planning to take for IELTS for immigration purposes also, and some for studying abroad.
Sure. Well, that's really interesting. I've worked with a lot of many students, especially in the medical sector. So these are people who want to work as nurses or doctors in UK, Ireland, and the United States, and Canada, of course. So what my dream and what my activity is really to help those people to, to achieve their objectives and to get a good band score in IELTS so that they can do well and that they can work easily, anywhere in the world. So so that's really my mission. What I've put together today for you is a little presentation about how to achieve the good band score in IELTS writing specifically. So is it okay with you if I share the presentation with you?
yes.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Sure.
Great. So I'm just trying to upload it now. Hopefully you can see it on the screen.
Yes, we do.
Okay, perfect. So I'll just start the slideshow from the beginning. And so today we're speaking about how to improve your band score for IELTS writing. And the first thing that we talk about is timing. So that normally, of course, we say 40 minutes is the good amount of time to spend on IELTS writing task 2, because we're talking about the essay part today. But of course, everyone is different. Some people need exactly 40 minutes, other people need a little bit less or a little bit more. But what's important really for you is to just understand what worked for you. How much time do you need? So getting into the good habit of understanding how much time you need for prep is really key. So, getting that practice in advance so that you know exactly how much time you need. But either way, what's really important is that you have that 10 minutes of preparation. So you have your, we would say 2 minutes to actually study the question and 2 minutes to decide your opinion, when you see the essay question, 3 minutes to generate ideas, and then 3 minutes to brainstorm vocabulary. So you're making sure that you have those 10 minutes of preparation before you write your essay. Is that okay? Can you guys hear me? Okay, on the line. I think you can hear me.
Yeah, you're coming loud and clear.
Okay, Mr. M and Gladys, if you have any questions, just don't hesitate to ask. Feel free to interrupt me anytime. So,
Or we'll just
Sure,
post it
sure.
on the chat box so that you
yeah,
can. All right.
perfect. Thank you very much. That would be great. Yeah. Um, so next step, when you're doing your IELTS essay, you need to, when you see the actual question, what you need to do is you need to break it down. So usually an IELTS question is made up of 2 or 3 pieces. It's not just one sentence, right? So if you break it down, that will make it easier for you to understand it and also make sure that you answer it correctly. So this will help you to kind of boost your band score for task response or task achievement. So if we take an example, today we're looking at a problem solution essay. So we'll say many working people get little or no exercise during the working day or in their free time and have health problems as a result. So why do many working people not get enough exercise? What can be done about this problem? So if you look at this kind of typical IELTS question, problem solution, you can see that there are 3 pieces here. So what we're doing is we're breaking it down. We're putting in the first statement. Then there's a first question. Why do many people not get enough exercise? And what can be done about the problem? So once you've broken it down, you can try to understand the initial statement and then, answer the first question and then answer the second question. In paragraph 1, answer the first question. In paragraph 2, you're answering the second question. So in that way, your coherence is a lot more logical and you'll definitely be getting a better band score for coherence and cohesion. I hope that's understandable. Like, for example, if we take another example of an advantages, disadvantages essay, do the advantages of ebooks outweigh their disadvantages? Here, we're just breaking it down into the advantages of ebooks, the disadvantages of ebooks, and then state if you believe the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. So that way, again, it's absolutely crystal clear to the examiner when he reads your essay that it's logical. You've followed a logical format. So if we move on to idea generation, when you've studied the question, you understand it, you know what it's about, it's at this point that you want to generate ideas, right? Now, you don't have a lot of time, of course. We're talking only about 2 or 3 minutes. So at this point, what I propose is that you try to find 2 ideas for each part of your essay. So for example, in a problem solution essay, you would be looking at possibly 2 problems. And for the solution, you'll be looking at possibly 2 solutions. So in that way, you're kind of building ideas. So if we take an example from the advantages, disadvantages essay, so do the advantages of ebooks outweigh the disadvantages? You want to think about what are 2 advantages of ebooks? Well, common sense will tell you that maybe one advantage is that ebooks, instead of traditional books, are very easy to use, they're very convenient. You don't have to lug them around like you do with traditional books. And another advantage is that they're not expensive. So you could give an example of Kindle. It's an app that we use to buy ebooks. So here we've generated 2 very easy advantages. I think everybody can come up with those ideas. They're very simple and straightforward. Now we have to think of some disadvantages of ebooks. Well, that's a difficult one, but if you use common sense, well, you could imagine maybe some people don't like ebooks because they might be difficult to read on a device, or they might damage your eyesight if you read them too much with the light. So here you're coming up with common sense ideas. Any question about that, guys? Or do you have any concerns or anything? Does that make sense? Okay, I think there might be a
No
message here.
questions.
Yeah,
No questions.
no questions. Okay, Gladys, that's great. Interrupt me anytime.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, or if I'm going too fast, I tend to speak very quickly. Just slow me down. um,
Noted,
so,
note.
mhm. Yeah, so that's idea generation. If we move along, yeah, vocabulary. So, you know, a lot of my students, they come to me and they say, oh, Therese, you know, I don't have enough vocabulary, or I don't know synonyms. And, you know, it's a problem for everyone, you know, including myself. The English language is so huge. But what I could recommend is really, you know, to familiarize yourself with all of the IELTS topics. Yeah, because there are actually a limited number of topics in IELTS. You know, isn't a specific, you know, there aren't any type of topics. You know, those topics are generally the environment, education, family, relationships, health, jobs and employment, art and sport, food and cooking, travel and tourism, TV, music, media, space, and science, technology. But those are the topics that come up. So if you make a habit of reading about these topics or listening about them on the news or in media or in books, this is really going to help you, because you'll start to recognize the vocabulary, and you actually could keep a journal of words and synonyms associated with these topics. That will really, really help to build your lexical resource for IELTS writing, and of course IELTS reading also. Some useful sources, gain vocabulary also, is the IELTS.org website, which is the official Cambridge website. There are practice tests on that you can use. You also have idp.com, which is another official IELTS website that you can use. And if you're into science, which I think a lot of you nurses are, and maybe medical staff, there's a great journal that I absolutely love called sciencenewsstudents.org. And that particular magazine is fantastic. It's really colorful. It's very user-friendly. And I think that you would enjoy a lot of the topics anyway in that, to kind of build vocabulary. So that's lexical resource. Another way to build vocabulary is, again, to use a thesaurus. So a thesaurus is an app that we use, thesaurus.com. You just write a word in and you click search, and then you can find 3 or 4 or more other words with the same meaning. So that's fantastic, because it's a great way to build language. And of course, don't forget to use your dictionary, your Oxford or Cambridge dictionary, to check the meaning of words, to make sure that that the word that you're using in the essay is appropriate, that it is the right word, it has that correct meaning. Okay, all right. So moving on to grammar. I know everybody, you know, often is terrified by the word grammar. You know, grammar is very tricky for everyone, for all nationalities, especially English grammar. But if you can master what I call the big 5 in grammar, this is really going to help you in your IELTS exam. So when I say the big 5, I mean, if you can master articles, which is the, a, or an, subject verb agreement, which is using the correct verb with the correct subject. Also prepositions. Prepositions are really crazy and tricky. Complex sentences, which is a requirement for IELTS, and tense. So that's your present perfect, your past, your future, and your conditionals. So if you can master all these areas of grammar, then I promise you that you would definitely get a better band score in IELTS writing, because these are the 5 areas of grammar that really drag people down. So if you can master that, you are on a winning streak. So Coming to coherence and cohesion, one of the criteria for IELTS band score, what I propose to my students is just model the exact IELTS essay structure. You don't have to do anything more than that, really. You're doing your introduction, your main body paragraph 1, main body paragraph 2, your conclusion, and make sure you always replicate that structure. And get used to using a logical argument. So that would be presenting your main idea, explaining it, and then giving your example. So that's the main logical argument that we use in each main body paragraph. And so if you get used to arguing like that in daily life also, that, you know, when you give your opinion, you try to explain it and you try to illustrate it with an example to prove that your idea is correct. Get used to thinking like that, get used to writing like that. This is really going to help you to develop better essays for IELTS. Yeah. So my last point here, last but not least, is to find a mentor or a coach or a person, somebody who can help you. Because if you have somebody mentoring you, this is going to really accelerate your progress, your self-progress. So what sort of person should you look for? You need to find somebody who is honest, somebody who will give you direct feedback when they see your essays. They're not going to say to you, oh, that's wonderful, if it's not wonderful. You know, you need somebody who's going to criticize you and give you direction. So point out what the exact mistakes are, how you can overcome them so that you don't continue to make the same mistakes. And you need someone who can understand you. You need somebody who can listen to you and really care about what's going on in your life. So I think that if you can find a mentor, someone who can really work with you, this is going to help you a great deal in your life, whether it's IELTS or beyond IELTS. That having a coach can make a huge difference in your life. Coming back to that, if you need to find me, if you need to find us, we're online. The website is www.english-gurus.com. And we offer IELTS essay correction at a very low price. And along with each correction service, you know, I offer ongoing support through chat, through email, and very, very soon the IELTS preparation course will be online. And that preparation course has been perfectly customized to help students to get band score 7 and above. So that's the purpose of that IELTS preparation course. It will be on the website in about 2 weeks. And on the website, you can also find lots of great articles to help you that are completely free. You don't have to pay for those. And I'm always available if you need to contact me. I'm also on YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel. On YouTube, you just have to type in IELTS English Gurus and you can find us. You can contact me there. And I'm always open to hearing from people. I'd love to hear about what people need and how I can help. Also, we have a Facebook group. I'm trying to open that now. Yep. So just type in IELTS English Gurus on Facebook to join us there. We have a wonderful group of very nice students from all over the world. We all try to help each other, and there's essay correction. There's loads going on over there. And then finally, that's it, everybody. That's the end of my presentation, and thank you very much for listening. I'd love to hear your concerns or questions now. So Gladys and Mr. N. Yep.
All right. On Facebook, Therese, there's no questions. And on Zoom, there's none as well. I think you can proceed with your next slide.
Okay, that's it actually. The only other thing that I wanted to refer to was just about vocabulary. So, you know, if you're looking for new vocabulary, you want to build synonyms, again, use the thesaurus.com to help you with that. For example, with an essay, working people, professionals, exercise, activity. If you like, I could send a link for all of the websites that you might need, like the thesaurus or the Facebook group. Just let me know and I'll be happy to send that over to you. So, yeah. What about you, Gladys? Do you have any questions, or Mr. M, do you have any concerns that maybe students would normally ask to get information about IELTS?
Well, I think for writing task, the common questions that we are hearing from the students are, how would they start with their essay?
Right. Just starting it off, right? Yeah. And I think it's a good question. And, you know, if students get used to seeing introductions, you know, that other people have written, that will really help them. So, yeah, so again, use the IELTS.org website to get some ideas on that. If you want to start off your essay, you're looking at the essay title, and then you're looking at the topic. Be absolutely sure, you know, what the topic is. So for example, many working people get little or no exercise during the working day. You need a background statement about exercise. So your first sentence in your essay should be related to exercise. So in that case, you could say, you know, exercise is a very important topic nowadays. Or many people are discussing the problem of exercise and health nowadays. So background statement, and then in your second sentence, you want to paraphrase the main sentence in the essay title. And so that's really the best way that you can start the essay. And I hope now that that will make it easier for students to commence their essay as they begin. Any other questions or?
Mr. M, are there questions on?
From Facebook, please share the website name synonym list, Miss Therese. Yeah, they are asking, Kiran's asking for the website for the synonyms list.
Oh yeah, for the synonyms, is that the
Yeah.
question?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe if I write it into the chat box, will that become visible for everybody?
Yes, just paste it
Yes,
there.
it
We
will
will
be.
share it as well on our
Okay.
other.
Right, I don't know if you can see that, but that's the website
Yeah,
for
we can.
synonyms.
Thesaurus. Okay. Thesaurus.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Exactly. Yeah, thesaurus.com. That's, you know, very commonly used. And right, I just see a question there from Reina.
Yes.
Yeah,
This
okay.
conclusion should have a big impact on the essay. Thank you.
Yeah, Reina, thanks very much for that question. It's a really, really important question that you've asked. And yes, absolutely. The conclusion is very, very important because it basically summarizes your main idea. And if you forget the conclusion, unfortunately, you're down to band score level 5 and below. So yeah, absolutely. The conclusion, you know, it's a summary of your main idea. And if it's possible, try to just write no more than 2 sentences in your conclusion. It's basically a paraphrase of the introduction. You're paraphrasing what you said in the intro. So it's a paraphrase of main arguments, main idea, about 2 sentences. And if you could use it as a complex sentence. So you're using a complex sentence to create the conclusion. Usually with the word while, or although, or whereas. Not always, but usually you're using a cohesive device to create the conclusion. So you could say, for example, although, you know, getting physical exercise is a big difficulty for many people nowadays, leading to health issues, there are many solutions, such as physical exercise and um, health programs that will rectify the problem. So that's just an example of a summary of a conclusion that you can use. So I hope that's useful for you. I don't see any other questions there. You're very welcome, Reina. Thank you. Thanks a lot also. Yeah.
Guys, kindly type in your questions so that Miss Therese could help us on your writing task and ace that exam because I know it's hard, most especially this writing task. So type in your questions, guys, for you to be so that it will be clarified.
Yeah, don't be so
Okay,
shy.
Mysteries, there's a question from Facebook. Is it advisable to take computer-based if your type faster than the paper-based? Will this help for writing tasks?
Yeah. So, Mr. M, the question again was, is it better to take the computer-based test? Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Rather than the paper-based? Yeah.
Yes.
It's a great question. Yeah. It's a great question. I would say it really depends on you. It depends on you, the student. Are you already accustomed to using computer regularly? That's what I would ask the student. Or is he used to using paper? Like, what does he feel more comfortable with? So yeah, I would consider how you feel about it. But overall, I mean, I can just speak for myself and my own students. We prefer absolutely to use the computer-based test for a number of reasons. One, it's faster. Like if you're used to typing a lot, then it's going to be much easier to just type your answers. And the second thing also is that, you can use the highlight function during the computer-based test. You can delete, you can also see the number of words that you're writing immediately, whereas in the paper-based, you can't. So you don't know how many words you've written. So yeah, I definitely would recommend computer-based test if you're comfortable with that.
Yes.
Yeah. So yes.
Thank you for that one, Mysteries. So
You're welcome.
we're waiting for another question from Zoom and Facebook Live. Just type in your question, guys.
Yes. By the way, Miss Therese, so can you tell us what is the perfect structure on making an essay?
Great. Yeah, good question. Well, the perfect structure is really to follow the normal essay structure where you're writing your introduction, main body paragraphs 1, main body paragraph 2, and of course conclusion. So that's all you have to do. You just have to follow that structure. I'm just writing it into the chat box as well so that you can see it coming up visually. Main body paragraph 2 in the conclusion. And then as you write, you're using your cohesive devices or your linkers. So, generally, depending on the essay type, if you're listing something, then you're using firstly, secondly, moreover, or more, in contrast. If you're comparing two things using on one hand, blah, 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 in main body paragraph 2, on the other hand, paragraph 2. And then, of course, when you want to finish your essay, you always use to conclude or conclusion. And we don't use any other linker in the conclusion because no other linker is accepted. So that's important to remember. To conclude or in conclusion is always the best way to finish your essay. So yep, so that's it really. That model structure is perfect. There's nothing wrong with writing a third main body paragraph. If you want, you can write a third one. But generally most people just use intro, main body paragraphs 1 to conclusion. So yeah, is that okay, Gladys?
Yes, it's okay. Great. Also, there is another thing. is it advisable if, for instance, we made a one paragraph for one opinion, and then I would not say accidentally, but however, we
Mm.
made another paragraph. I think two or three paragraph for the other one. Uh, does it make sense?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
it
I think
okay? Or
like you mean like writing an extra paragraph or
like for the idea, for instance, I have this idea A, and
yeah.
then I just wrote one paragraph for it, and then on idea B, I wrote two to three paragraph. Is it okay or advisable or?
Well, yeah, again, I mean if you want to kind of expand your idea and you add an extra paragraph, yeah, it's fine. I mean, as long as it's coherent and it's part of the argument, it's absolutely fine. You're developing your idea. Just I would say just be careful not to write too many words. Yeah. So yeah, you don't want to be writing like 350 words. You don't want to get excessive. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah. But no, I think that would be fine. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Are you talking from your own experience here when
I would say yes because last exam
okay,
I did that because
okay.
before
Yeah.
they told me that if I just wrote one paragraph for idea A and then only one paragraph for idea B so that they will be equal. This thing I
Oh,
forgot.
I understand what you're saying. Yes, you want to kind of make it yeah, equal. Yeah, yeah. So of course, yeah, I would recommend that. Try to keep it succinct. So yeah, you've got one idea for paragraph one idea for paragraph two, of course, absolutely. And then just keep it coherent, one example for each one. Yeah, yeah. So you're not deviating, from the main idea. Yeah.
Yes. I just
Hmm.
give another idea, but I've said a lot on the second
Yeah.
idea compared to the first idea, which is why I was having this thought of probably
Yeah.
it's not right of doing it, so I'm not
Oh,
recommending to others.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, if you're feeling maybe that's not connected, then yeah, probably better to stick with just that main idea. Exactly. Hmm.
All right. So there's a question from Kiran.
Yeah.
Question is whether we should write both advantages and disadvantages in outweigh type of questions or not. Please clarify.
Okay. So just trying to understand the question here, Karen. So your question is whether you should write both advantages and disadvantages, not way type of question or not. I'm not sure I fully understand. I'll just write a message to Karen. Can you explain what you mean? Um, maybe he could, whether we should write both advanced and disadvantage and outweigh type or not. I'm not sure I fully understand the question. Um, but what about you, Gladys or Mr. M? Could you shed some light here?
I think what is he trying to say is that does he need to provide the advantages and disadvantages? Wait, outweigh. But there's a word outweigh, which is why it's making it confusing.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You should write both advantages and
Could we
disadvantages.
unmute him? Could he talk maybe? Is that possible?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think, Kiran, correct me if I'm wrong. Are you trying to say is what is your stand? Is or what are you going to or your stand on your essay? If they are
Actually,
oh
yeah,
there.
hi.
Hi, Kiran.
Yeah, hi. My question is this, advantages and disadvantages outweigh. So here we have to write both advantages and disadvantages in such type of questions. So is it possible to write both?
Yeah. So Kieran, do you mean do you need to address both the advantages and disadvantages in an essay?
Yes. My question is this. So I need to write both or only advantages or disadvantages, which I am
Ah,
agree with.
okay, I understand your question now. It's a very, very good question. Very important question. And yeah, absolutely, you need to write both. Absolutely. So, because if you leave out one, if you just write about the advantages, then you will definitely lose marks because the question's asking you to address both. So, and moreover, it's probably good to allocate it. So, you give paragraph 1 specifically to advantages, and in paragraph 2, give it specifically to disadvantages. And that way you can make sure you've addressed both. Is that okay? Did I answer
Yeah.
your question? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Now I'm clear
Sure.
with it.
Absolutely. And in that introduction also, you're also referring to both the advantage and the disadvantage. So
Okay.
yeah, in fact, I'm going to produce a video on Monday on my YouTube channel about this. I'll show you exactly how you can do that. And that's very, very important. In my IELTS preparation course, I have a complete lesson on this topic actually. So if you're interested to do the course, then you can do it, and that will help you as well.
Yeah, please share the link in the chat box so that I
Absolutely.
can follow you on YouTube.
Thank you very much, Karen, and great to meet you.
Same here. Thank you so much.
All right. Another question from Raman. We should write more disadvantages if the disadvantages outweigh the advantages, vice versa, right?
Wow, tricky question. Thank you, Raman. Thanks for that difficult question. Thank you for that question, Raman. I would say, yeah, I understand your question. So if the disadvantages outweigh, for example, then yeah, absolutely. Then you should emphasize that the disadvantages outweigh the advantages. And also you need to express your idea in the essay. Okay, so I actually think that ebooks are worse than traditional books. That's what I really think. And I have reasons to believe that. You need to emphasize that in your introduction and also emphasize it in your conclusion too. So that's what the whole essay is about, is pushing your idea forward. Emphasize your main idea, whether you think the disadvantages are more or less. Mm-hmm. And yeah, are greater or not greater. Okay, so I just added that in. And Raman, if you want to talk directly, if you want to be unmuted, you're welcome to speak if you'd like to join in.
Yes, Raman. You can ask directly your question to Therese if you want to. Just unmute yourself.
Maybe he's too shy. Maybe
All right. So
a little shy.
I think he's shy. Anyway, so any questions, guys? Come on, it's your chance.
By the way, Gladys, I'm just wondering, did I hear a rooster in the background?
Oh yeah, from my neighborhood. I'm sorry for that. Excuse them.
That is awesome. I mean, I was thinking, is that really a rooster? Yes, it's a rooster. Yeah.
There are at least 15
Yeah.
roosters in my neighborhood.
Yeah, that's very common in the Philippines right now.
Yeah, we have roosters here also, but I'm in the city, so I don't hear them very often. Yeah.
Yeah, Miss Therese, there's a question from Facebook. Does it take longer for the result to come out if we are to use the paper base?
Sorry, can you repeat, Mr. M? I didn't catch.
Okay. Does it take longer for the result to come out if we are using paper-based exam?
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I hear your question. For paper-based exam, yeah, it takes longer. The computer-based results definitely come faster. And that's another reason that people do the computer-based test, because overall it's really more convenient and it's faster. But I mean, I understand there's I think about 82% of students do the computer-based test around the world. So those people will get their results faster. And then about 18% of people are doing paper-based. So they may be waiting a little bit longer. And of course, with the COVID situation, unfortunately, that seems to have delayed everything. So yeah, I would definitely recommend probably doing the computer test if you can, and if you can prepare for it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for that. Miss
Sure.
Gladys, you still have.
Any more questions, guys?
Okay, there's another one from Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So from Steffi 5, when it comes to writing, we must use formal words than the speaking. Is it right, or this is where we should apply some kind of unique words? When it comes to writing, we must use formal.
Sorry, can you just repeat that again, Mr. M, so I understand?
Okay. When it comes to writing, we must use formal words. So Steph is asking if we can use a formal word rather than in speaking. And or we can use some kind of unique words in writing itself.
Right. Yeah, so the question is about writing specifically. Should we be more formal in writing?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, in writing, it's formal. But I would say that in speaking, maybe we should be a little bit more formal also. I mean, in general, during an exam situation, we tend to be more formal. It's like an interview. So yes, absolutely. Like for example, students often ask me about contractions, like, should we say, I will not rather than I won't. So generally, yeah, we avoid contractions in the writing part. But I would say, personally, I would suggest that instead of focusing on formal or informal English, just try to focus on writing correctly, making sure that the grammar is correct. Most of my students, the main difficulty they have is grammar. Grammar is what kills the band score. People usually are really intelligent, they can argue very well, they have good examples, they're very coherent, good structure. Many students can master that. The main problems is really grammar. That's why people don't get the band score. That's why I created a grammar course on my website, and that grammar course addresses the most important structure that they need to get band score 7. So that's articles, subject verb agreement, complex sentences, and those key areas. Yeah, I hope I answered the question succinctly. Mm-hmm.
All right, for your last question, Therese, is it okay to use idioms in the writing task?
Yes, absolutely, Gladys. It's absolutely fine, good to use idioms. I wouldn't go overboard with idioms. I mean, it's not an absolute criteria to get a band score 7 and above. The criteria is that you're just writing correctly and writing well and using different words, not repeating yourself. But it's absolutely fine to use an idiom. Yeah, sure. I would say make sure that the idiom is understandable. The reason I say that is because I've noticed, like, in different cultures, like, idioms don't translate. So, like, I work a lot with French and Italian students, and they translate idioms from French or Italian, and they just don't make sense in English at all. So, yeah, but I know in countries like in the Philippines or in India, like, English is the common language for many people. So a lot of the idioms are the same. So probably it's fine.
Okay, so it must be on the English type of idioms. They're not
Right.
translated, right?
Sure. Like the idioms you use in Philippines, I'm sure they're probably very the same, right, as the idioms we use here in the West, or maybe not. Like in America, they use idioms like that are completely not understandable in England.
Mhm.
So like British and American idioms, they're not the same actually. So yeah, maybe best to try to not use too many, I would say.
All right. So I think that's all for now because we have no more questions from Facebook and Zoom. I think that it is very clear for them about our lecture today. So we hope to see you again, Therese, on our. It will be Sir Jeff who will be contacting you. So,
Yeah,
so
thank you so
any
much.
last word for today's lecture for
Thank you
our.
so much, Ram. It's been a thrill. I really enjoyed meeting both of you. And again, if you have any questions, I'm at info@english-gurus.com. I'll just write my email address in here, and people are welcome to contact me there if they have any questions or concerns about anything. So,
Right. Mr. M, any final words before we end the session?
Yeah, thank you very much, Miss Therese, for that informative lecture. And we hope some of our students get a lot of information.
it's great. Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you. Thank you very
guys.
much.
Thank you,
Have a
Therese.
great day
Thank
and
you,
take
Therese.
Have a
care.
great day. You
Everyone.
too.
Mr. M,
Keep
All the
safe.
best. Thanks. Bye.
bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye. God bless everyone.